Welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. May you live your truth. Good morning from Los Angeles, California. It's all about knowing the truth and expanding consciousness and living lives that we love. So as a doctor of divinity, I am always looking, it's funny because I go through life now looking for stories, because between the podcast, the daily podcast, and between my morning show, Good Morning La La Land, I'm always looking for stories. It's like a new way of life. And it's funny because growing up, I never thought in stories. Those people that they always think in stories, and they always have 100 stories to pull out of their pocket at all dinner parties and conversations. And I've always been envious of those people that can just rattle off stories, and yet at the same time, there's a real balance for people that tell too many stories. But it's been fun because I now have been looking through the lens of stories. So last night, I've been still healing from being sick. I've been taking it easy all weekend and decided to say no to a few events over the weekend and just kind of lay in, catch up on some technology thing I've been behind in. And so last night I thought, well, I need to get some food. So I went out with a friend over to a real famous diner in West Hollywood called Swingers. It's kind of a funny name, very famous. It's been in a few movies. And the cool thing about this diner is that it's very organic. It has organic stuff all over its menu. So it's cool because it's like chic, so Hollywood, and yet has a lot of organic and very healthy choices. So we go in there, and oftentimes we sit at the counter because it's like Cheers. It's a lot of people, actually, a lot of sober people go there also. It's pretty fascinating. But we go, we don't drink, we just have some good food and usually run into some people that we know. So last night we ran into a friend of mine that came over, was catching up, and he's like, wow, man, you look amazing. I guess the guy has lost 75 pounds, and he sat down with us and started chatting. And I guess he's been a comedian for some time and working in the industry. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go into psych school because what happened was I've lost 75 pounds because I did subconscious work. And I was like, oh, you're speaking my language, right? So he goes on to say that he went into doing a bunch of therapy and doing EMDR. And if you guys don't know what EMDR is, I refer to it quite often because it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. And it's kind of the newest, hippest subconscious work in the cognitive therapy arena. And as a doctor of divinity, the soul, I teach, and we teach in New Thought Movement, that the soul is actually the subconscious. It's one with the subconscious. So now as cognitive therapy is coming along in the processes, I often refer to cognitive therapy because they're actually getting some actual improvement, in my opinion, some really incredible processes going on. So eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR, they're using it on PTSD, vets and all kinds of things. But the point is this, and the topic of today's talk is called How to Lose Weight via Subconscious Work. And so this gentleman who lost 75 pounds, it's like, what the hell? And he goes, and I didn't even change my diet. I just eat a ton less, basically. And he went in, he did a lot of subconscious work. And what he realized, as we know, most of us eat out of comfort. Most of us eat out of triggers. Most of us eat because we want to celebrate. We're sad. We're lonely. We're bored. We're all the above. Majority of the time we eat, it's very, such a small amount of time that we eat actually just to eat, just because we're actually hungry and we need fuel. Most of us know what we should eat, but we eat and make other choices and eat crappy food. So what is it? What is it about the subconscious that plays into us eating more, eating out of emotions? And so as he went into these cognitive processes, into healing and doing his subconscious work, he realized things like when his father yelled at him, aggressively yelled at him, he needed love, but he couldn't get love. Therefore, he realized that he was just going to be angry back and not need love. So he ended up, putting this wall of of this barrier of not being able to be loved, like anger, like being, overweight, all these things, having a personality that was abrasive so that no one could actually love them. Because subconsciously, when we have trauma, or, some people will say, well, that's not trauma. Well, it is in a relative perspective. Trauma can be everything from a vet being in a war zone to being in a highly, highly emotional state. That's traumatic. It's a relative traumatic experience. And in those traumatic experiences, in those highly, highly emotional states, we tell ourselves lies to survive. And in that, it goes into the brain and into the subconscious. So in the brain, from a cognitive therapist perspective, and from even a scientist perspective, from even a spiritual perspective, we get what's called almost like loops in the brain. And it actually loops as we tell ourselves a lie, like, I don't need love, or I'm not good enough, or whatever that is. It will loop in the neurons. It will loop in the energetic field of the brain. It will loop, it's like entangles in our brains. And so what happens is, until we unentangle that, it will keep looping in the brain over and over again. So in this EMDR, basically, I don't know how to explain the process exactly. But basically, a therapist takes she took him through a process where she basically has him tell the story of those times, those traumatic stories with his father, and begins to tap both sides of the body. Sometimes they use paddles, sometimes they just use rapid eye movement. And the point is, it's almost like when you're in REM sleep, your eyes go back and forth, and it's trying to process stuff. So it processes it back and forth, and it unentangles that process within the brain, those memories around his father yelling at him, and begins to have the brain get back into synchronicity from the left and right, and begin to have a regular pattern around that memory. So the point is that as he detangled these memories, as he released those emotions and those kind of lies that he told himself in his subconscious, he was able to get love. He was able to get it from the right source instead of from the wrong source, like food. He began to know, I can actually love people, and people can love me, and therefore I don't need to be fulfilled from just food. And so his need and desire to fill that gap via food diminished, and he began to lose weight. And so the point is that we all have trauma at some level. And if you are eating out of emotions, if you're eating out of trying to fulfill, or deal with emotions and be comfort, and not have anger, and not have angst, and not have fear, and not have all these things, if you're noticing yourself that you're doing this with food, that you're fulfilling this with food or boredom or whatever it is, this is the divine sign. This is life. It's showing you, this is the effect of you gaining weight or not feeling well. And it's saying, wake up, wake up. There's something that is not complete. There is something, a void within you that is ready to be healed. And so whether you heal through doing your subconscious work, your EMDR, your other cognitive therapies like prolonged therapy, or whether you find a spiritual, advisor or counselor that goes through, healing at a subconscious level, it's time. Those are the divine signs. And even in the middle of all this, you can do it. And so today, I know the truth that you can heal. You can lose weight through doing your subconscious work. It's probably the most important thing. It's more important. Diets don't work, you guys. We witness this over and over again. Yes, a diet works if it works correctly, but the issue is that no one sticks on their diet, because diets are short-term unless they are truly authentic and really a balanced diet, okay? So today's universal law is the law of correspondence, because each day we align with a universal law. So all of life is a correspondence of your consciousness. Your gaining of weight, your eating patterns, or the correspondence, the outpicture of your consciousness, what's going on. This is the ascending order of the creative process. the spiritual realm through the mental realm into the physical realm. So whatever spiritually is going on with you is going to be outpictured into your physical realm. If you're gaining weight, if you have an eating disorder, if you have whatever it is, that this is a spiritual disease. This is spiritual healing that needs to happen. Okay. And then today's spiritual practice, it's to take some time today to journal, releasing your emotions onto the paper. Talk about those things to yourself. Write them out. What are you still not complete upon? What has you overeat? What has you do those things? Begin to process those things, okay? We have to go. We're out of time. But today's challenge is to find time and money to do your subconscious work. It's the best investment you will ever make, you guys. You can find me at Dr. Erin on social media, or you can find me at erinfalhaskell.com. Doctor of Divinity, you guys. Have a great day, and knowing the truth that today is a day to do your subconscious work, okay? Have a wonderful day, and may you live your truth.